Hello students, this is Bincy Joseph from the Department of IAC. Last session we already discussed about one of the collision resolution technique under this hashing, that is progressive overflow, or it is also called linear probing. You understood those topics, right? Now today we will continue to the next one, that is some more collision resolution techniques. We will discuss the following collision resolution techniques, that is double hashing, chained progressive overflow, chaining with a separate overflow area, and scatter tables. Along with this, we'll discuss one small topic as well, that is record access at the end. Okay, now we'll see to this each of this in detail. Before that, let's just read the definitions of this and then move ahead. Double hashing. When an overflow occurs, use a second hashing function to map the record to its overflow location. That is, use more than one hashing. Next, chained progressive overflow. This is same like a progressive overflow, except that synonyms are linked together with the pointers. I'll tell you what are the synonyms. Okay, chaining with a separate overflow area. That is the extra synonyms you are going to place it in separate area, memory area. Scatter tables. Here we are combining indexing and hashing to resolve the collision. Okay, we'll see to each of this in detail now. First one is double hashing. See, problem with the progressive overflow. That is, in the last session we discussed about the progressive overflow, or you say linear probing, right? In that, what happens is when many of the keys hash to the same location or the same home address, and in that case what happens is, in that particular area a cluster is formed. Cluster means all the records are put together in certain area. In that case, what happens is, this search length for that particular keys will go on increasing. So we have to think about dividing this particular clusters, isn't it? For that, to overcome this problem of clusters, we go for this double hashing. Okay, now what are we doing in this double hashing? Why is it called double hashing? Okay, now say store overflow records a long way from their home addresses by double hashing. That is what we are doing in double hashing. We are going to store the overflow records, that is a record other than the home record. Other than that, we are going to place it at a far distance from this particular home address. Okay. When collisions occurs, a second hash function is applied to the key to produce a number C that is relatively prime to the number of addresses. See, in this double hashing, what you are doing is, you have a key, say K. Okay. Now, initially what you will do, you will use one hash function to generate a address, isn't it? That is the home address. H1 of K, if I say, it will generate some address. Okay. Now, assume that that particular address which is generated by this H1 of K is already filled. Then what you are going to do is, you are going to generate one more second hash function. See to this, the second hash function, that is, say, okay, the second hash function, that is H2 of K, which generates this C address. Okay, it will generate a value, that is C. Okay, Now what you will do is, once if you have this value C, you are going to add this value C to this first function, first address. Understood? Now you will get one more address, right? But this particular C value is always prime to the number of addresses. Okay, that you have to keep in mind. Now the value C is added to the home address to produce the overflow address. This H1 of K plus C will give the one more address, and this is called your overflow address. Okay. Now again assume that this particular address which we generated now, that is the overflow address, that is also filled already. That is, there is a collision again. In that case, what happened? What you should do? Again, you should add C to this overflow address to get one more overflow address where you can store your record. Okay. Procedure continues until a free overflow address is found. That is similar way you are going on adding, and when you get to one free address space, you will stop there. That is what you are doing in this particular double hashing technique, the one of the collision resolution technique. Okay, double hashing. Okay, what is the advantage of this particular double hashing? What advantage is that it will spread out the records. I'm sorry, it will spread out the records in a file. Thus, that means you are overcoming the problem of clustering, right? Clustering was a problem in progressive overflow. Here, in this double hashing, you are solving that particular clustering. How? By spreading out the records in a file. Okay. What is the disadvantage? Disadvantage is it violates the locality. That means the similar kind of file records will be stored at certain distance, some distance, isn't it? And one more thing is, see, in case you have a file and that file is occupied in cylinder 1, and due to this creation of overflow addresses, in case if a part of the file is stored in one more cylinder, that is, you are using two cylinders to store one particular file. In that case, what happens is, when you have your records in another cylinder, you have to move the read write head, which is costly, isn't it? Instead of that, the thing is, you should have all the records related to a file in one particular cylinder itself. In that case, you need not move the read write head, and you can access easily, right? So the solution to this that is it violates the locality. For that, the solution is like using some this double hashing algorithms or programs such that whatever overflow addresses you are going to generate, those should be within a single cylinder. Understood? Within a certain area. The records has to be spreaded, but it has the overflow addresses whichever you are generating has to be within a cylinder itself. That is the solution to this disadvantage of this double hash. Okay. Next, we will see the second collision resolution technique, that is chained progressive overflow. We already discussed about this progressive overflow, isn't it? That is linear progressive overflow. This is chained progressive overflow. We will see what is the advantage of this chained progressive overflow over that particular progressive overflow. Okay, before looking into this concept, you should learn what is a progressive overflow. Okay, then only you will understand what is chained progressive overflow. Here, what you are doing is, synonyms are linked together with the pointers. That is, synonyms means, see here, for example, you have the keys in this first column and the home addresses in the second column, isn't it? Here, for Adams, the home address is 0, right? And for Cole, home address is 0. Flint, home address is 0. So, this forms a synonym. Understood? Adams, Cole and Flint is one set of synonyms. Bates and Dean is another set of synonyms. Why? Because their home address is same. Understood? What are the synonyms? So, synonyms are linked together with pointers. You will use pointers to link this particular synonyms. Advantage of this chained progressive overflow. What is the advantage? Only records with the keys that are synonyms need to be accessed in any given search. That is based on the search. You can access based on the synonyms. Okay. Chaining algorithm forms a linked list connecting three names. That is one example. At the head of the list, Bates Dean, second list. That is the synonyms I told you just now. Connecting three names. That is Adams and followed by Cole and Flint, right? One synonym. And one more list is Bates and Dean, second list of synonyms. Now we'll see what is progressive chained progressive overflow. Before that, we'll see what is the search length for this, what is it? Progressive overflow. Okay. Now, earlier we have discussed this already. Key Adams, the home address is 0 and the actual address where it is stored is 0 itself. Here, see to this, okay, to understand the progressive overflow. Previous class, it's the same thing. 0 Adams. Okay. Next, for Bates, the home address is 1. In case of linear probing or progressive overflow, or what you're doing, in the home address 1, you have Bates. Next is Cole. Home address is 0. That is 0 already Adams is there. First you have in the address 1 you have Bates. So you are going to store it in address 2. Cole you are going to store it in address 2. Linearly you are going on storing the records, right? Yeah. Next Dean 1. Home address 1. It is already filled with the Bates. Next 2 you have Cole, so at 3 you are going to store Dean. Similar way Evans 4 you are storing here. Flint 0, again so much is filled. The next option is 5. Flint is stored here. Now what is the search length in case of progressive overflow? This is the search length in case of a progressive overflow. How to calculate the search length? See, Adams actual home address is 0. In one disk access, you can fetch this Adams, right? So the search length is 1. See, 1. Okay. Next, Bates. What is the home address? 1. Again, at 1 you have Bates. What is the search length? 1. This one. Okay. Next, Cole. If you want to search for Cole, you have to access Adams first. 1. Next Bates 2. Next Cole, that is 3. By using 3 accesses, you can get this Cole. See here, 3. Same for Dean. What is the home address? 1. You'll search at address 1 first. This one. Next, next one you will search with address 2. Next you will search with address 3. Now, so what is the search length? It is 3 for Dean. Okay. Next for Evans, again the home address is 4 and the actual address is 4 here. Just with just one access you can fetch Evans. And for Flint, the worst case, you have to go for 6 accesses, because the home address is 0 but the actual address is 5. So you have to access starting from here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Linearly you are going on accessing, isn't it, in a progressive overflow. PO, progressive overflow. Okay. Next we'll see this chained progressive overflow. Here is the structure for chained progressive overflow. The first list of synonyms, that is Adams, with the home address 0 is stored here. See, Adams 0. Next synonym, that is Cole, with 0 is stored where? See to this pointer here. This is called a pointer. Okay, to the next synonym. This is the pointer to the next synonym. What is the next synonym here? With home address 0, Cole, isn't it? So where is Cole? At RRN 2. Where is to this one? Understood? So what is the search length? Search length for Adams is 1. In one axis you can get Adams. Okay. Okay. Next, this is Cole. Next, what is the next third synonym in the list? That is Flint, right? Third synonym with the address 0. This one. So where is Flint? At RRN 5. This here. Flint is here. -1 means that is the end of that particular list. Again, if you have one more synonym here in 6, so starting with the geo. Okay. Now what happens? The link will be 6 here. Okay. And this will point to 6, that is geo. And if it is the end of the list, then the pointer is -1 here. Here the RRN is 6. Okay. Understood, right? What is a chained progressive overflow? You have the synonyms list in the form of linked list. Okay. Next, we'll see what is the search length for this particular chained progressive overflow. What is the search length? How to calculate the search length? See, first you have Adams. What is the search length? It is 1. With one access you can get Adams. Okay. Next, Bates, home address 1. What is the search length? 1. Home address, you have Bates. You need only one access. That is this one. Okay. This is for Adams, search length 1. Bates 1. Next is Cole. What is the search length for Cole? The home address is 0, right, for Cole. So you will check in the first home address, that is 0. It is not there. Now where you will go? You will see to the pointer here, which is pointing to 2. 2 you will search here. Yes, here is Cole. So what is the number of accesses? 1. Here 2, isn't it? This is the number of accesses for Cole. See to the difference here in linear probing or progressive overflow, you wanted 3 accesses, isn't it, for Cole? But here you need only 2 accesses. Understood? Better than this one, isn't it? 2 accesses. Why? 0. Yeah. Cole. 0th address 1, 2. Yeah. 2 accesses. Next, 3 accesses. Okay. Here you need only 2 accesses. Next is D, home address is 1. Here first you will search here, but it is not there. So where you will go? Next you will see the link here, 3. Here you have D. What is the search length? It is 2. Isn't it? But in case of linear probing, it was 3. Here it is just 2 because of this linked list. Okay. Next, events 1. Directly the home address itself, it is stored. Events is stored. So you need only one access. Okay. Next is Flint. What is the home address? 0. So first where you will search 0th address, but it is not there. What is the next synonym? At 2, it is not there. So what is the next synonym? 5. Search in 5, you'll get Flint here. Okay. Now what is the search length till here? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now see here, in linear probing you wanted 6 accesses, isn't it, to reach Flint. But here in chained progressive overflow, you need only 3 accesses to search for Flint. Yeah, 3 accesses. Okay. Now we will calculate the search length. How to calculate the density, packing density? How will you calculate the packing density? You have to add all the, that is the average search length. How to calculate? Add all the search length and then divided by how many number of records. How many number of records are here? Keys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, isn't it? Now see here, for the first one, that is in the case of progressive overflow, what is the average search length? Add all these search length, 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 plus 6 divided by 6, that is number of keys, you will get 2.5. Whereas for the next one, that is for our chained progressive overflow, if you calculate the average search, what you will get? How much you will get? You have to add all this, that is 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3 divided by 6. How much is this? 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, isn't it? 10 divided by 6. What is the average search length in this case? It is somewhere around 1.7. Okay. In same thing in case of that is a progressive overflow, what was the average search length? It was 2.5, right? Here it is, but here you need only 1.7. Hashing with the chained progressive overflow, Adams, Cole and Flint are synonyms, Bates and Deans are synonyms. Hope you understood this synonyms here. See, Adams 22, where is 22? Actual address 22 here. Cole, second synonym in the list. 25, third synonym in the list, that is Flint. Okay, it finishes here. Second synonym list is Bates. What is the next RRN? Synonym RRN 23, that is Dean. Ends there. Two synonyms list is here. Okay. Next, we'll see to some terms here. What is the link field? I told you, when you have the synonyms list, along with the key, you have a pointer, right? That is the link field. That is the RRN to the next, this one. What is it? Next synonym. Added to each record, it will more storage. Okay. And then chaining algorithm. It is nothing but possible to get to any synonym by starting at its home address. That is, for this you need a chaining algorithm such that when you are searching for a key, you have to move through those synonyms list and starting at where? The home address. Always you have to start with the home address and then move on searching. The problem with this chained progressive overflow is a certain address, that is 22, that should be occupied by a home address is occupied by a different record. That is, see here, for See to the previous this one so that you can understand clearly. Dean, the home address is 21 right here, but 21 is occupied by Bates, that is okay, but 22, Dean could have been placed here, isn't it? 22. Or say if in case the home address of Dean is 22, then this coal you can place somewhere else where it is free, and you could have placed Dean here so that you can fetch Dean in one axis, right? That is the disadvantage here. That is Dean. Now this Dean is away from the home address. So what is the solution to that? Within this chained progressive overflow itself, you have the solution to it, that is called two pass loading. In two pass loading, what you are doing is you are loading the hash file in two passes. That is, in the first pass, only the home records are loaded. That means, see, in this example, you have the home records, that is Adams 0, that will be loaded, Bates 1, that is also loaded, and next you are going to load Evans with the 4. On these, only these 3 keys will be loaded first in the first pass. Next, rest everything is loaded in the second one, that is Bates, Cole, Dean and Flint. These will be loaded in the second pass. So what happens? Most of the keys will occupy the home address. That's why you are using this two pass loading here. Okay. Next is chaining with a separate overflow area. In this case, what you are doing is, see, here you have two set of addresses. One is primary data area and one more is overflow area. That is, in the name itself it says it uses a separate overflow area. That means only the home addresses, the keys which has the home address, that is Adams, Bates and Evans, will be stored in this primary data area. And rest of the synonyms, see, with the Adams you have two more synonyms, Cole and Flint, isn't it? With the Bates you have one more synonym, that is Dean. All these are stored at separate overflow areas. Here Adams 0, it is pointing to 0. 0th address in the overflow area, that is Cole, and then you have the linked list 2 pointing to the next synonym. Same way Bates, the RRN of this overflow area is stored here as the link. It points to that particular overflow area there. Okay. Here, what is the advantages? That it keeps all the unused home address free for later addition. That is, whenever in the next, say for example, next you want to add one more key, that is Kevin or Calvin, then with the home address 2, then you can add Calvin here. Understood? To the home address itself you can add Calvin. Again, if it has one more synonym, then you can add one link and store it in the overflow area. Instead of storing it in 3, you will store it in this particular overflow area. And when one more record comes which has its home address 3, it will be stored in this particular primary data area. So here we can reduce the number of accesses for the primary data area, primary keys, this first synonyms. Hope you understood this chaining to a separate overflow here. This diagram clearly shows what is chaining to a separate overflow area. Adams, Cole and Flint are synonyms. Bates and Dean are synonyms. Here you have home address 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and this first synonyms is stored Adams, Bates, and Evans. Here Adams, it has two more synonyms with this, that is it will be stored in this overflow area, coal and flint. And Bates has one more synonym, that is Dean, which is stored in this overflow area. Understood, right? What is chained progressive? This is called chained progressive overflow. Now, overflow with the separate overflow area. Next, one more collision resolution technique is scatter tables. Here, I told you are going to combine two things, that is indexing and hashing. When you combine this indexing and hashing, you should make sure that this index will fit in the memory, that is computer memory RAM. Otherwise, you will need more disk accesses. There is no point in using this particular scatter tables. Okay. So you have the indexes, and these indexes points to the records in particular area disk. How it is arranged? See, when you have a key K, you will apply the hash function to K to generate a value, that is the home, that is the address. Okay, that is if home address say 21, you will go to this index 21, where this will point to the second list of synonyms, and you can search for whatever you want. See, for example, you want to search for flint. Okay, in that case, you will apply a hash function to key K, and it generates the address 20, and in the index at 20 you have a pointer to this particular synonyms list, and in this synonyms you are going to search for flint. Understood? Okay, now these are the links, right? This can be arranged in whatever way you want. See, for example, this may be arranged in order. Here it is arranged in ascending order, isn't it? A, C, F, ascending. Like this also you can order. Else you can order it in the form of entry sequenced. That means how you are entering the keys, in that order also you can place this, or in the form of synonyms you can place this list. Any method you can use. Example of a scatter table structure, because the hashed part is an index, the data file may be organized in any way that is appropriate. This one, this is arranged in the form of synonyms, as well as the ascending order is also used here. Okay, this is about scatter table. Searching will be easy in this form. Okay, next is the pattern of record access. How to access the what kind of pattern you can use for record access. If we have some information about what records get accessed most often, we can optimize their location so that these records will have short search length. That means, say, if you have 100 records, almost 10 to 20 records, we access it more often. So many times you might need those particular records, almost 20 records. Okay, in that case, what you can do is these 20 records you can place such that it is near to the home address. Understood? So that what happens, if it is near to the home address, then the length of the search will decrease. Understood? So the average length also will decrease. That is called pattern of record access. By doing this, we try to decrease the effective average search length, even if the nominal average search length remains the same. Okay. A small percentage of the records in a file account for a large percentage of the accesses. That is, say, for example, consider a grocery shop. Okay, in that particular grocery shop, it is said that almost 20% will be accessed 80% of the accesses are performed on 20% of the records. That means, see, some important groceries like milk, then curd, all those kind of things which most of the people want on daily basis, those will be kept near the entrance itself or near the that is counter. Understood? So that people can access it fast. That is called access. That is called this 80-20, 80 by 20 rule. In case of the records also, you are going to do the same. That is the records, 20% of the records which will be accessed more often will be placed near that particular home address. Understood? That is called 80 by 20 rule. Hope you are clear with the record access and the collision techniques, whatever we discussed in this particular video. That is double hashing. We started with the double hashing, then we discussed chaining with the no that is chained progressive overflow. Next we discussed chaining with the separate overflow area, and then last we discussed about the scatter table and a short note on this particular patterns of record access. Thank you for watching this video.